In my last video, I was talking about how I always bring to mind this idea of how, no, the fact, not just an idea, the fact that our body built itself. Yes, multiplying cells, really. Not just the idea of division, multiplying cells, folding, because the embryonic construction is a folding process. You see that we create layers in the body by a folding of the tissue. And yes, yeah, just reflecting on it, it's so amazing, the process. And one of my colleagues shared, one of my colleagues from Germanische Heilkunde, he shared a video yesterday of a man named Alexander Tsiaris, I think that's how you say it, who created the medical, what's the word I want to use, computer graphics to be able to show what is happening with the embryo from that first moment until birth. And so there's a short video that I'm going to put in the description to this one that would be well worth watching, because it is fascinating as you see this extreme intelligence that I think I didn't give it enough credit, because it's not just the intelligence to build the body in all of its complexity, all of the different organs that end up having their own rhythm. If you look into things like visceral manipulation, and they're talking about the rhythm of each organ, there's an energy to each organ. There is a rhythm to your blood flow. There's a rhythm to your heart, which is not a pump. It's a vortex machine that's vortexing the blood with information, structuring it. And it has its own rhythm. The cerebral spinal fluid has its own rhythm. You are a virtual orchestra. And the thing is, the most important movements in terms of living, like living and breathing and staying alive, the most important movements that you do are done from a place that's involuntary. You are not thinking about all of the things that you need to do to stay alive. You simply cannot. They're so complex that it's beyond the capacity of your ego mind, conscious ego mind, to be orchestrating them. I think that's a real gem of a lesson there, that the most complex things that you will do in your life are exactly the things that you cannot have any conscious control of. Because if you tried, you would mess the whole thing up. That is something really to, I think, hold on to in this ride of life where we get afraid of letting the control go. I was speaking to somebody yesterday and about this possibility of letting life live itself, of letting ourselves be true to the energy. In my case, the energy around me. In the case of the person I was speaking to, the energy within, as he is a sacral being. And I understand that fear. It's a fear of, I don't know what my life will be if I surrender. And that you don't know what your life will be. And everything has been happening unconsciously anyway. So the most important functions of your life are happening unconsciously, 24/7, without stopping. Every cell in your body, every tissue, because there are some tissues that aren't made of cells, if you didn't know. Every tissue is moving for you. is imprinted with the knowledge of what organically and naturally to do at every moment. And it's not, science is catching up to what we intuitively know. It's not based on chemicals. Chemicals are too slow for that. Things are happening so fast that there is some kind of intelligent blueprint that's making all this work. So I will put this video that has to do with embryology in the description so you can watch that. It's a short video that shows this complex development that you did to yourself unconsciously. And then here is the thing. You come out of the womb and you keep doing that, actually. Watch a child. I have a friend who recently had a baby, and I've been watching this baby willfully grow. It's very strong. I've seen the design of this amazing manifestor baby. So much willpower, and I feel it and I watch it. You watch this baby just developing, boom, 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 boom. Every time I see her, there's something new. Every time I see her, there's a surprise. Every time I see her, there's just this awe of how so naturally she is developing herself. She is finding how to move. She's discovering her hands. She's finding out how to move them. There's no conscious mind, conscious ego mind that is fast enough for those kinds of processes. Everything that is most important in life is always done on an unconscious level, has always been done on an unconscious level. We get this conscious ego mind that gives us the possibility of self-reflected consciousness, which, what a gift. What a gift that we are using so wrongly. It's meant to watch. It's meant to witness. It's meant to reflect on its own experience. But the experience, as Ra-Uru said in a talk I heard recently, you don't seek for the experience. You are made for the experience. And I would go even further and I say, you are the experience. Because you are life, and life is just this event. The universe is one event. It's a happening, and we're all part of it. And it reminded me of a Taoist from Zhuangzi, something that he said about a baby. And this way of being in life where you're really surrendered to life. So I want to read you a couple of things. It says, the baby looks at things all day without squinting and staring. That is because his eyes are not focused on any particular object. He goes without knowing what he is doing. He merges himself with the surroundings and goes along with them. These are the principles of mental hygiene. If we want to be well mentally, can we look without staring? It's just the idea is, how much are we clinging? How much are we clinging to every experience? How much are we clinging to every sensation? How much are we clinging to every happening? When truly there's only one happening, it's the now. And the now is in a constant flux. But it's always now. And there, as much as you want to cling to it, you can't, because it's gone, but it's always here. This is the paradox. But that mental hygiene of just being part of it all, and not having to try to figure it out. I think this is the problem. We get to a place where we're trying to figure out life. And another human design teacher, Genoa Oblivion, once said, life is not for figuring out, life is for living. It's for living. Life lives. You live. Figuring it out, there's no figuring it out because it's moving. While you're trying to figure out what's happening, it's already gone. It's already moved to the next thing, the next now. That's always now. And one more from Zhuangzi. Yeah. Mark what I say. In the case of the body, it is best to let it go along with things. In the case of the emotions, it is best to let them follow where they will. By going along with things, you avoid becoming separated from them. By letting the emotions follow as they will, you avoid fatigue. How much of our suffering, and I'm not saying there's no physical suffering, there is. I've had my share of it, been lucky to have not as much as other people have had, but I have definitely had my share of physical, emotional, all that suffering. It's part of it, but so much of my suffering, the majority of my suffering has always been from wanting things to be what they're not. Resisting life. So hitting my head, my friggin' doubting, confused head against a wall. Because life is moving one way, and I think it should be moving another way. Letting the body go along, letting the emotions move. Those of us who are non-emotional, we have a lot to learn from the clean emotional centers, the emotional people around us who are really cleanly in their process. They are processing. They give themselves the time to process. And it's just part and parcel. It's just energy that's moving through the body. And that emotional center teaches us that you don't have pain without pleasure, and you don't have pleasure without pain. It's this wave movement from one to the other, from hope to despair, back to hope, back to despair, back to hope. And that is what makes life exciting. It makes it challenging for our minds to relax into it, but it is the essence of life, is the movement, is the polarities that we are in touch with. We didn't come into this life, we came out of it. We are part of it. We are made for it because we are it. So just a few extra thoughts related to the previous video that I had done.